I'm sure everyone's aware at this point that Battlefield has launched its Battle Royale called Redsec, and in this video I want to go over my first impressions and give you guys the rundown on what I think is good and what I think needs some work. I also want this video to be a bit of a conversation around the game because I'm curious to see if we're all having a similar experience or if it's just me. Now, I did enjoy parts of the game, but I wouldn't say that it was mind-blowing that I felt a burning desire to boot it up and play it all day. But I see other creators switching from their main game to Redsec, guys like Rogue ditching Apex to go all in on Battlefield, or Iceman Isaac leaving Call of Duty and Warzone to go all in on Redsec. I just didn't get that same feeling, so maybe I'm missing something. And to be clear, I don't think it's a bad game. I do think it needs some work, but the core gameplay is there, and I think it's designed in a way that will definitely serve its core audience. And when it comes to the core audience, I'm also super happy to say that the dev team has basically told all the people complaining that it needs to be more like Call of Duty to essentially just go kick rocks, and that they're not going to compromise Battlefield's core gameplay to be more like another game. And I think Battlefield specifically learned this lesson in 2042. And I'd like to see more games go in that direction of appealing to the core audience instead of this new weird mindset that AAA games have where they just assume the core player base isn't going to go anywhere and they spend all of their time trying to cater to new players. And it's something that has clearly been a large part of destroying Call of Duty and how terrible the franchise has been since Modern Warfare 2019. So first things first, let's talk about what the game does well. We have to talk about the map design because this is the best map I've seen in a Battle Royale in years. Put destruction aside for a second, the areas feel fun, unique, and visually interesting, all while being very different, so everything doesn't blur together. But they've also managed to piece all of these different areas together in a very cohesive way that makes rotating to the next area intuitive. There are big open areas that you have to be careful crossing, but there's also lots of cover in many of these areas, as well as vehicles to get you from point A to point B more quickly and safely. Next, I think they got the pacing of the game just right. It's not too slow where it overly rewards people for just sitting in a corner, but it's also not the type of game where you just sprint at everything and you fight. It's a nice middle ground where you can kind of be on the move, get aggressive when you need to, but it also rewards good positioning both in a gunfight and also in the bigger picture of the ring closing. And speaking of the ring, you do not want the fire to touch you. As a person who's played a bunch of Warzone during Verdansk 84 and has thousands of hours in Apex Legends, I cannot stand people camping in gas or circle, whatever you want to call it. I don't mind having a little bit of forgiveness, but ultimately, I think the zone needs to get you moving. I don't like the idea of me and my team rotating to zone, having a good position, and then we just get rolled up on from behind by a team that was just sitting out of zone. So I'm really happy to see that they're forcing players to take the firestorm seriously. If you die, the redeploy mechanic is really forgiving, but not unlimited in the way that something like a rebirth mode from Warzone would be. Everyone gets a second chance, but after that, your teammates are going to have to stay alive, go to a redeploy beacon and activate it, and then guard the area while the beacon shows your position and makes a very loud sound for everybody. And once the redeploy beacon is completed, all dead teammates will be back in the game. And I like how this brings in some of the forgiveness from something like Rebirth without having it being unlimited, but it also has a mechanic that takes some effort. There's also missions to complete that give you rewards, and I think it's really cool that there's a large emphasis on doing the missions early on to get geared up to actually fight. And it means there's more to focus on in the early stages of the BR instead of just landing, getting a gun, and running at people or stacking cash for your loadout and your UAVs. But if I have all these positive things to say about the game, why don't I like it that much? Well, this game does have good core gameplay. It also has a lot of core issues that I think just need to be resolved that, in my opinion, get in the way of playing the game. And I think for me, the most important one is audio. The ambient sounds and the audio from your character and your teammates is so overwhelming that you cannot hear anything else. My friend Pro Reborn literally had a tank roll up to him and he didn't know until they just started shooting. And the fact that I can't hear enemy footsteps at all unless I'm sitting in a building not moving with no ambient sound is a huge problem. Now, I don't think everybody should have super loud footsteps, like an elephant walking, but I do think if somebody's running up to me, I should hear them coming once they get close, right? I think that's a pretty reasonable opinion. But the fact that I can't hear footsteps unless they're literally touching me is a huge problem. And when it comes to hearing footsteps, I'm using some of the best in-ear monitors you can get. The ZiiGaat Crescents have a hybrid driver design. With 2 dynamic drivers and 2 balanced armatures, you get an incredibly accurate and detailed sound, which not only helps you locate enemy footsteps in games, but details and textures you never even noticed before will start to pop out at you. These have good low end, but they don't overwhelm the sound with a bunch of bass, and And if you're a person that really likes a good, airy, detailed, crisp, high-end, these are definitely for you. They also come with this ultra premium carrying case and some of the best stock ear tips I've ever seen, which I can only describe as glass tips. Whether you're listening to music while you're working, playing video games, or you're just watching some of my YouTube videos, upgrading to the Crescents will give you one of the best audio experiences. If you're interested in checking them out, I will leave a link below, and if you do end up purchasing something through that link, I earn a small commission. But let's get back to what needs to be fixed in Redsec. As a person who's played tons of first-person shooter games, I find the HUD incredibly overwhelming, and while there is a little bit of customization, there's very little that I can change that actually fixes my problems. There are just all kinds of indicators popping up at all times. My teammates, their pings, potential missions, the current objectives, loadout markers, mission rewards, etc. The overhead compass feels small and not super useful. And this might seem like I'm nitpicking, but this was just my genuine experience. I've never been so lost when looking at the HUD or a UI like this before. And I find it very odd that the kill feed has like a 3-second delay. Pinging has a massive delay when you press the button, and the marker eventually shows up on the map. And trying to customize or change any of this in the menu is like trying to find your way through a maze of options. I've tried to customize keybinds like 10 different times now, and I still feel lost and not happy with where my keybinds are at. And again, maybe I'm just missing something, or maybe it's a skill issue, but this is the only game where I've ever felt lost in the menu or getting my keybind set up in a way that makes any sense. Also, pulling up the tactical map feels weird. If you rebind your ping button in-game, it no longer works to ping on the tac map, and you could say this is all silly or just nitpicking the small things, but when you start to stack a lot of these small quality of life issues on top of each other, it just adds to the friction of playing the game. I also think the looting is very odd, and sometimes I feel like I go through entire buildings without finding a crate, and other times I feel like I land and find 5 crates next to each other. And it's weird to me that they almost copy and pasted the exact same loot crate system from Splitgate, where you open the crate and there's a weapon, ammo, armor, lethal, or tactical. The weapon upgrade system is really odd to me, where you pick up a weapon upgrade pack and that only applies to that weapon category, and you have to open your inventory and manually apply the upgrade. And I think it would just be way better to have it automatically apply when you pick it up. And to be honest, this entire weapons and loot system is just not at all what I was hoping for in a battle royale from Battlefield. I was really hoping that we would see a return to true battle royale style looting, where you land with nothing and you have to loot for weapons and attachments that you find on the ground across the map, the way that Blackout did it originally back in 2018. Now, I understand this isn't Call of Duty, but I was hoping that a game like Battlefield that has made it clear they're going to stick with a more grounded theme would maybe go in this direction, a little more traditional Battle Royale looting system, but it seems like they've gone in the other direction and tried to put their own spin on the loadout system, which is just something I genuinely do not like in Battle Royale games. And I really want to see this game do well. I really want to see it succeed. Whether I play it, whether I like it, or whether you play it and like it, it doesn't matter. The better this game does, the more competition we have in the marketplace, and the more that other games are going to have to keep up. But if you liked that video and you want to check out another one of my videos on first-person shooter games, click here.